We do a complete neurophysiological workup on the child, which is unlike what's done clinically elsewhere, but it is very similar, at least in the United States. It is well established in the literature, mostly from the experimental psychologists. What we're looking for is how does the child condition, how is his neuroelectrical functioning carried out, how does he perceive the world, and how do his eyes and ears work together with his brain.
Okay. The name of this test is called the Ames window illusion. Cover one eye, look at it, and you will see that it will seem to change direction. When it does, will you call it, say 1, and then count every reversal you see. When it changes again, say 2. When it changes again, say 3. Now, I don't want the change in shape. It is going in this direction, and it will seem to go in this direction. When you see it change direction, then you call the number. Cover one eye. Go the other way until you are straight. You're allowed to jiggle back and forth until you feel that you are exactly upright.
This testing is carried out in very specific ways. It's been simplified to a great deal so that by the end of several hours of testing, we know precisely where his strengths are and we can direct his teaching. If he's a kid who's a genius with his hands and kind of unable to put words together, then the area we want to start with is in the shop with manipulating things and handling machinery and so on, rather than boring him with trying remedial reading, which will be the wrong level to begin. So the function of the testing is to find out exactly how his physiology is structured, and based on that information to design a precise remedial or basically an enhancing program for him. Realistic for kids to be sent to us without having really seen a real doctor, a doctor who practices real medicine, that is, looks at the body, looks at the flesh, looks at the bloodstream at all. They've often been to psychologists, social workers, counselors, and psychiatrists, but the basic assumption of these people is that something's wrong with the family and that the child is willful, or that he has something called a mental disease, but somehow mental disease, while they keep insisting that it's a disease, is not a disease like other ones, not caused by faulty structure in the body, or not caused by a germ, or not caused by inefficient metabolism, but is somehow caused by the interaction between human beings. Here we try to look very hard at the child from the standpoint that he is an animal, that he's made out of flesh, that he has a bloodstream. And we find characteristically that almost all the children sent to us have severe allergies, and that these allergies have impact on the central nervous system. That is, they can cause allergy tension fatigue syndrome. The person eats a food or is exposed to a mold or to a grass, and the muscle tension builds up. The head begins to feel like it's squeezed. The drowsiness increases. The ability of the eye to see changes, and this can be tested out very easily. It can be tested out very grossly. Second, we see that many of the children have food intolerances, where the food may react as if it were an allergy, but it's not. The allergy mechanism isn't involved. At least we don't see an increase in the immune antibodies in the bloodstream. But the food intolerance is just as serious, just as causative of both biological problems and learning problems and behavioral problems. Corn, wheat, and milk, which are three of the most common foods in America, are also three of the most commonly found foods which are for which kids are intolerant, and removing them from the diet can have a great deal of effect of a positive nature.
The most important thing about food is that it should be served so that it's attractive and it tastes good. Most of what's called health food is fairly unattractive to kids and to most adults. The idea of giving rehabilitation to kids through the structure of dinner time and meal times combines both the social aspect of eating, that is, at home it's always a shake, rattle, and roll kind of experience, the only place where you ever see your father, and that's the time when mother tells him everything you've done wrong, and replacing that with a relatively quiet experience. And then making the assumption that kids' nutrition is bad, which we have many years of evidence and good, careful lab work to prove. And in restoring the nutrition that they've missed for so many years, giving it balance, giving the brain proper nutrition, giving the body proper fuel, there'll then be some chance for the child to restore himself. And so we make, in essence, a minimal intervention and allow him to do most of the psychoanalyzing of himself. The basic approach here is to give a high-protein, moderate-fat, low-carbohydrate diet that is attractive and avoids processed foods very, very strenuously. There's good evidence now that the dyes and food flavors in themselves cause hyperkinesis, and that you can turn the kid off and on by giving him these salicylates and other chemicals in his food. So we want to avoid all the things that are going to cause problems for him while giving him the things that will be good for him in an as attractive an environment as possible.
This is mock pizza made with soy bread, which is higher in protein than meat, and this is a entirely vegetarian meal. The sauce is made with spices, Parmesan cheese, tomatoes, pimento, and an additive called bone tray, which is high in bone meal, and tastes like ground hamburgers.
Malabsorption syndrome is seen in many kids, and this means that either under tension, or it's a sort of what comes first, chicken or egg kind of situation. Tension causes you to produce less hydrochloric acid. Less hydrochloric acid means you digest your food less well, which means you're more susceptible to stress. Stress and tension causes you to have less hydrochloric acid, which go around and around and around and around. Then there are other diseases that we see. 15% of the kids sent to us have hypothyroidism. 2 out of 6 of the children, 1/3 of the children sent to us have toxic levels of lead in their tissue. And so you combine allergies, intolerance, food intolerance, malabsorption syndrome, and toxins in an individual who may be constitutionally somewhat inadequate or hypersensitive, and it all spells a great deal of trouble for kids. And this must be corrected by diet, by specific medical treatment that's very old-fashioned and conservative in its approach. Green Valley could be described as the vitamin school. We give out so many vitamins. But there are 2 basic approaches to vitamins. One is the specific vitamin dependency disease. Many doctors won't see a single case of this in their entire career. We see a lot of it because we are a sort of filter trap for a lot of disturbed kids. In one case, for instance, a kid will produce an enormous amount of homocysteine in the urine, and you may check that out by careful biological testing. That child all his life must have about 1,000 times, perhaps 2,000 to 6,000 times the amount of pyridoxine or vitamin B6 that we ordinary people will need. These children often present themselves as autistic, and there's no way that psychotherapy can straighten them out. They must have vitamin B6. There are similar dependency diseases for all the vitamins. The approach to vitamins around here is not the global general belief in vitamins as a good thing, but it's specifically based on careful laboratory tests and supplying to the child the actual vitamin. And of course we subsume the idea of minerals because we take tissue biopsies and then supplement